Hey everybody, Trevor Shipp here. I want to welcome you to our webinar tonight. We got some cool stuff that we're going to go over. We are actually going to discuss some of the finer points of more link building, but very specifically how to actually gauge the value of a link. So, I mean, for some of you guys, this maybe not be too relevant, especially some of you guys who are newer to these webinar presentations, but let me kind of explain. If you're listening, this will be really relevant if you have a website first, right? So here's our sort of our prerequisite list. You got a website. You've probably done a bunch of keyword research. You've probably done a bunch of optimization, and you're kind of in the process of trying to build links. And that's what our last few presentations have been about. Last time we actually talked about directories. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, why is it that links matter? For those of you guys who, maybe been to some of these webinars, why is it that we care as internet marketers so much about getting other websites out there on the internet to link to our website? Well, what's the big deal? Because we kind of obsess over it, and we've been talking about it the last few weeks. What's the point? Just reading some of your comments here. So I'm hearing makes your site more legit, gets your site ranked higher in Google, makes you more attractive to Google. Vince, I like what you say. This is pretty simple. Google likes it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's why we're after links, because in essence, a good link from a good quality website can send you traffic and can increase your authority and your trust with Google. And that's kind of the topic of tonight. Trust with Google and how that sort of works with link building. And we're going to tie it in to how that works with optimization as well. So this is going to have some really good practical application to any of you guys that are kind of working on optimization of a website. I want you guys to understand how to really gauge the value of a link and how to measure the value of a website in the eyes of Google. Okay, now that brings me to what we're looking at on the screen right now. We really love to use Moz.com in our office. A lot of people who are big into internet marketing, specifically in the SEO space, the search engine optimization space, love to use Moz. Now, I'm going to put out this caveat: Moz is not free. I think it's like $100 a month to use. I don't recommend you pay the $100 a month at this point. Not until you can afford it and the business is paying for it. If I were you guys, just use a free trial. You can do a free trial with Moz and get access to some of the stuff that we're looking at. And you can do multiple free trials, I suppose. They allow you to do different email addresses. So anyway, that's what I'd recommend. There's a specific type of tool here on Moz that we're going to look at a little bit today. It's called OpenSiteExplorer. Okay, and you can get through it there through Moz.com, or you could go and open up a window and just type in OpenSiteExplorer.com. So tonight we're not going to just talk about OpenSiteExplorer, but I want to show you how we use it to gauge the value of a website. Okay. So first of all, let me just put in a website just to kind of show you how this thing works. I'm going to put in. I know we've been using Uptown Pearl. Yeah, let's put in Uptown Pearl. I was thinking maybe we'll use a different website, but Uptown Pearl. For those of you guys who haven't seen this site before, this is what it looks like: uptownpearl.com, a website that sells pearl jewelry. Okay. We're going to check what OpenSiteExplorer tells us about this, and this is going to lead us into tonight's conversation. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see this just a little bit better, but let me tell you what we're looking at. I'm going to highlight it in yellow or in blue. when I put in www.uptownpearl.com, I'm looking at these two metrics right here, okay? We're looking at domain authority and page authority. Okay, now, do you guys ever heard about that? Do you guys know anything about domain or page authority? Some of you guys who are here live. You can see I'm obviously not scoring very well, am I? 5 out of 10. 1 out of 100 on the page authority side. What is that, guys? Any idea? To some of my more seasoned internet marketers here. If not, it's fine. It's kind of the topic of tonight anyway. No? Seeing lots of head shaking. No. Nope. Okay. Let's talk about it then. So OpenSiteExplorer is giving me a score for domain authority and page authority. And to simplify it for you guys, I mean, there's a lot that goes into this metric. Moz does a bunch of compiling of data about this given page right here, this URL, which is the website we've been using as an example. They compile a lot of data, and I won't go into the specific algorithms that spit out this information. You can Google it if you want a really good in-depth idea of what domain authority and page authority are, but let me kind of simplify it for our purposes. Domain authority is how much Google sort of trusts your overall domain. So like uptownpearl.com is my domain name, right? Well, the trust factor, you know, we're trying to get Google to trust my site so that they feel comfortable ranking it. Right now, my trust factor is at about a 5 for the overall domain. 5 out of 100. Now the question is that good or bad? It certainly doesn't sound good, right? But I'm going to tell you that this score right here is completely relative to your industry. So I'm not going to say this is good or bad yet. It just is what it is, a 5 out of 100. Okay, that's the domain authority. Page authority is similar, but it just looks at a specific page of my site. In this case, we're looking at my home page. It doesn't take into account any other pages of my site. You got to remember, a website is just that. It's a set of pages all hooked together on a domain, right? That's a website. So the domain authority is kind of ranking the trust of all the pages collectively. And then page authority just looks at one specific page in detail. Does that make sense, guys? That's domain authority and page authority. And this will make a little more sense as we look at it together. So right now I'm 5 out of 10 domain authority, 5 out of 100 domain authority, 1 out of 100 page authority. Not incredibly amazing numbers. Okay. Now, how does Google how does Moz come up with these? Like I said, I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but generally speaking, domain authority and page authority are kind of come from the same thing. Your page authority is kind of the ranking of a page, or the, you know, this score would be the score of a page built on mostly like how popular it is in terms of links. So, and how trusted that individual page is. So if this page of my site has a lot of trust with Google, this would go up. And that trust with Google, it comes from mostly links pointing to it. Because you can have a website that has lots of links pointing to the home page and lots of links pointing to maybe like a product page, but not very many links pointing to other pages of the site, right? Like as you're getting links, as we're link building, generally speaking, a lot of the links come into the home page, but we're going to try to get links pointing to a lot of our other pages. But on this site right here, you can tell there's not a lot of links going on at all. This doesn't really have to do with site visitors and traffic. So, you know, you can have high domain and page authority without getting a lot of traffic. It's mainly built on links. Let me show you guys another site that's been around for a little while. This one right here, financialnut.com, is a financial blog that I don't really spend a lot of time on anymore. I used to. I use it as a way just to sell a little bit of advertising. Let me bring this up to you guys real quick. Financialnut.com. Really old. I mean, the last piece of content was posted clear back in 2011. It's got several hundred articles on it, but I use it just to sell advertising and stuff. Anyway, I used to link build on this quite a bit, and you can see over here on OpenSiteExplorer, Financial Nut has a pretty decent domain authority, a 30 out of 100. The page authority is 42 out of 100. So that means this specific page of my site, which is my homepage URL up here, is scored at a 42. But overall, the score of my website sort of collectively, my domain sort of trust with Google, I'm at about a 30. Okay. Now, I want to show you maybe a specific page of my site. Let me Google it real quick. It's a page that's actually gotten a lot of interest. Why do gas prices go up and down? Let me see if I can find it here. I think it's this page right here. No, it's not that page. I used to have a couple of blog posts that were about where I focused on gas prices and why they went up and down, and they've done incredibly well in Google. Let me take this very specific URL up here. This is to a specific page within this site. Why are gas prices going up and down? And let me put this into OpenSiteExplorer. Now keep in mind, my home page has a 42 domain authority. Let's see what this page has. Or I'm sorry, page authority. This page has an 18 out of 100, right? So I guess the point of, and I could go through and I could show you each individual page of my Financial Nut site or my Uptown Pearl, or even with your very own site, you could go in and look at each one of your individual pages and it would score your page authority for each one, okay? So again, just to check your guys' understanding, tell me real quick, based on what we've talked about, what influence, well, let me ask you this first. What is page authority? What do you guys understand page authority to be based on what we've talked about so far? Any ideas? I'm getting some different answers. Page authority, think about it this way. Page authority is basically how much trust a single page on my site has. And in this case, the trust rank for this page is an 18. It's like the power, the ability of this page to be able to rank in Google. The higher my page authority is, the more likely I could get this specific page to rank higher in Google. It's like it's their trust score. So if somebody said Google trust score, yeah, sure. It's a trust score. Okay. Strength of a single page, Bill. That's exactly right. The power to rank for a certain page. That's another way to look at it. Okay, I think we're clear on that. Okay, how's that compare to domain authority? That's page authority, but how does that, notice how I'm a 30 domain authority here when I put in this page. Let me just grab another random page off of Financial Nut here. 10 steps to creating a good personal finance budget. Let me copy this URL, and I'm going to paste it right here, okay? Here's the URL. Let's do a search and see if this has any authority. Okay, so this changed a little bit. This has a 17. Notice the domain authority didn't change. So what's domain authority, guys? The entire site. Good. How Google feels about the site collectively. How strong my domain is collectively. Good. Okay, great. I think we're on the same page there. All right, so here's what's nice about this tool. You can do this with your competition, right? So let's say, for example, and I'm going to go back to this Uptown Pearl for a sec. We're going to leave Financial Nut. I only use Financial Nut because it's a little more established and I could show you some better data for it. Let's come back to Uptown Pearl. And you remember weeks ago, and if you haven't seen this webinar, you can go back and check it out later. Weeks ago, we talked about trying to get my bracelets page to rank. And the target keyword phrase for my bracelets page was Pearl bracelet. We talked about how that's the phrase that I want to try to get this to rank for. I've optimized the page for Pearl bracelet specifically. And if I went to Google and I did a search for Pearl bracelet, it's important for you guys to understand that this is who I'm up against. I'm up against Overstock right here. They've got the #1 spot. Now remember, these right here, these are paid ads. See, sponsored. You see it says sponsored there. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see these a little bit better. Okay, this is an ad. You can see by the little yellow ad mark. These are all ads. These are paid ads, so I'm not really competing with these. Again, if I wanted to be here at the very top of Google, I could pay for it if I wanted. Most of us don't have the budget for that, right? We're trying to rank in Google for free. That's right here. These are the organic Google listings. So Overstock has the #1. Blue Nile, the #2, Ross Simmons, the #3, Kohl's, Tiffany.com, Macy's.com, Pearl Paradise, Pearls by Laurel, and Jewelry.novica.com. That's the top. That's your #1 or your top 8 or 9 listings in Google on the first page. So if I'm going to break into this first page, what has to happen here, guys? What is it that's going to help me break in this page specifically? Because I'm trying to get my bracelet page to rank with the likes of these kind of companies. What is it going to take to get me there on that first page? Based on what you've learned about so far. Okay, one of you guys said SEO. Absolutely. I need SEO done. A lot of you guys are saying linking, lots of links. Why? Because I need Google to trust me as much as these websites that are listing right here, these pages, okay? Right? That makes sense. I mean, based on a lot of our previous discussions, if I'm going to get here, I have to be trusted. Now, there's 2 parts to that, guys. One is that their optimization needs to have taken place. And luckily for me, we spent a session on optimizing this page. I've done the meta tags, I've done H tags, I've written content, I've put in the keyword phrase Pearl bracelet all over the place. It's in the alt tags, it's in the content. Pearl bracelet is very relevant to this page. So we've done the optimization. So there we go. Half of our work is done. The other half is I've got to get Google to trust this page, right? Now, here's the question. You guys said link building. I need lots of links. I need trust. Well, here's my question to you guys, and this is kind of the crux of our meeting tonight. How much? That's the question I want to ask you guys. How much link building do I need to do to this page to get me onto the first page of Google? Because that's my goal. I want to get onto the first page, and then once I break onto the first page, I want to be up towards the top, right? Because if I can occupy one of those first spots at the top, I'm gonna get some serious traffic, and then subsequently I'm gonna start getting sales. So the question is, how much? How many links do I need? Like 15 links, maybe? 1,500 links? Like what is it gonna take? I like your comment, Laura. Laura says, whatever it takes, right? How many links do I need? However many it takes. It's true. Araceli, I don't know if that's you or Anwar, but you say 1.5 million links, right? We need lots. It depends. I'm getting a lot of good answers here. I like what you said though. So everybody pay attention to Bill here. Bill said, check where Overstock is. Okay, so Overstock owns the #1 ranking here, don't they? Wouldn't it be wise for us to understand a little bit more about this page? I'm going to click on this page real quick. Okay, this is the page that occupies the #1 page ranking, and believe me, I've looked hard at it because I want to figure out how I can get there. So here's their URL right here. Well, why not? Let's check out their authority. I'm going to go over here to OpenSiteExplorer, and I'm going to paste in this URL, and I'm going to do a search because I want to learn about this page that's #1. Let's see what Moz says about this page. All right. So you see the metrics here, right, guys? We'll zoom in a little bit. What's the domain authority for Overstock.com? And by the way, is Overstock.com a popular website? You guys heard of Overstock.com before? Absolutely, they are. Right? These guys are huge. Their headquarters are in Salt Lake City. So I'm pretty familiar with who these guys are. They're pretty big here locally. Overstock is a well-known company, very popular. So does that surprise you that their domain authority is 82 out of 100? That's pretty impressive, isn't it? That means that Google trusts Overstock.com tremendously, right? Their domain name is very, very trustworthy, and so whatever they create, if Overstock.com adds a new product to their site, just by virtue of the fact that it's on Overstock.com, it's probably going to pull decent rankings because there's so much trust. Okay, so they're an 82. Look at their page authority. Their page authority is a 36. That's the trust level for the page. Now, my question to you guys is, can I get a website to a domain authority of 82? Probably not ever. Just to give you an idea, an 82 is just that is so high. I don't think I could ever get a small business to have a domain authority of 82, unless I just hit some kind of a crazy home run and did a tremendous amount of PR. And it's Overstock has so many links pointing to it. That's why they have an 82. They're just very, very well respected. And we talked about that. That respect comes from those links. I mean, they have thousands and thousands and thousands of links pointing to their site, no doubt. Okay. But their page authority is a 36. Now let's, I suppose we could go through here one by one and look at all of these, right? I could come back out to search results real quick. And we could go back and say, okay, so 82 and a 36. So let's come back down to the second rank here, Blue Nile. Let's click on this link, and let's bring it up. I'm gonna copy this URL up here, and I'm gonna toss it into OpenSiteExplorer. Do a search. We'll see what it says. Okay. They're at a 64 and a 30, right? Pretty impressive still. It's pretty solid, right? Yeah. I mean, I actually, anybody know who Blue Nile is? You guys heard of those guys? Not me until I got into this business. But they still have pretty solid metrics here. The point is, if I want to break onto the top page of Google, we should really go down and look at all of these. Let's look at one more real quick. Let me look at Araceli, Anwar, you had this suggestion. Let's check out this bottom listing right here. This is the bottom of the first page. So let's click on these guys. I'm going to copy that URL. Let's bring it over. I'm going kind of fast here, but we'll do that for the sake of time. I'm going to bring it over here to OpenSiteExplorer. Okay. The last listing here is a 62 and a 28. Okay? So just based on the little bit of data that we've seen so far, if I want my page to bust onto the first page here, what do I need? How do I compete? Doesn't my page need to be comparable to these probably? Yeah, I mean it's clear. The first page of Google is reserved for sites that are somewhere between a 60 and 80 domain authority, and page authority so far somewhere between a 28 and a 36. That's what we know, just based off of the little bit of research we've done. Now, let me show you guys a better way to do research, okay? This uses kind of the same data, but let me open up another tab here. I'm going to open up this one. Do you guys remember in the Moz tool set, there's one called keyword analysis? You guys should all be familiar with this who've watched some of these webinars, because keyword analysis is the tool we've been using to come up with the right types of keywords, right? What do you guys remember? I'm going to type in pearl bracelet. What did I tell you guys to kind of look for percentage-wise when we're looking at the competitiveness of a keyword phrase? What were our competition percentages that were sort of desired here? I'm going to zoom in here. You guys can see this, pearl bracelet. Yeah, like we want to shoot for a lower than 50% in most cases, and then the lower is better just generally. Well, if you've ever wondered where this percentage comes from, it comes from the research that we've been talking about right now. This percentage right here is basically sort of created based on the strength of the first page of Google. In fact, if I come over here and if I click on this keyword phrase, it's going to bring up a report. And what I love about this report is it analyzes this data for us for the first page of Google very quickly. See this chart right here, guys? This is the first page of Google based on that keyword search. Now, we just did that keyword search together in Google, right? That was let me get back to our, here it is. Here's pearl bracelet in Google, and we were analyzing this kind of one site at a time. The keyword analysis tool will analyze the top 10 results for us. So if you look here, this is the top 10 in Google for this keyword phrase. You can see the variance in domain authority. Look at number 8. They've got a 25 domain authority. Yet they're outranking number 9 here. And check this out, a 93, site number 10, which is Etsy, it looks like, Etsy.com, they have a 93 domain authority. So what's cool is I can roll my mouse over each one of these, right? Number 1 is Overstock, and then if I roll my mouse over number 2, it's Blue Nile. Number 3, it's Ross-Simmons, right? You guys see that? So look at this data with me for a second. Is there anything that surprises you here? Again, this is the first page of Google. The orange bars are domain authority. This right here represents listing number 1 in Google, listing number 2, listing number 3. The orange bar represents domain authority, and the blue bar represents page authority. What's interesting about this? What do you guys think? Kirk, you said number 6 doesn't have any page authority, nor does number 10. Yeah, that's an interesting metric, right? Ashley says, why is number 8 outranking 9 and 10? Right? Look how number 8 has a 25 domain authority. How is it that they would outrank a 62 and a 93? And better yet, all things equal here, look at how number 9 has a 28 page authority, and so does number 8. They both have the same. Yet number 9 has a much higher page authority. So why would that be the case? Then the numbers don't look consistent, do they? Okay, so let me just say this as you guys are looking at this data. First of all, I'm not sure what the answer to some of that is. You would assume that the site that has the highest domain authority and the highest page authority typically are going to be the ones that rank at the top, right? But we're missing something here. What is this not analyzing? What part of SEO is this not analyzing for us? This is analyzing links and trust of a domain and trust of a page. But what is this not considering? Some of you guys are saying SEO. What do you mean by SEO? Lots of you guys are taking stabs at it. I like that. Number of visitors, number of links. Well, Kirk, it is taking into consideration number of links because that's where these metrics come from. Page authority is very much ranked with or built on links to an individual page, and domain authority is really built on that idea of links. Okay, some of you guys are hitting it here. On-site optimization. It's not considering, or we're not seeing optimization in this graph. I would venture to guess that number 8 is outranking number 9 because it's probably got better on-site optimization. They might have done their meta tags better. They might have had better H tags. They might have had better content on the page. This isn't considering that. So here's the thing, like if you guys, that's why we taught you guys optimization very first thing, because you guys can control that. You can get in there and really optimize a page well, and therefore be able to compete sometimes even when your authority isn't high. But one thing you're going to notice about most of these pages, we can I mean the thing that I want you guys to understand is this data isn't going to be perfect, but it's going to give you give you a good idea of what you need. What is clear here is we need domain authority of probably at least a 25, right? The lowest one has a 25 here. Am I right there? I mean, we're at a 25 clear up to a 93. So we need to be somewhere in that range of domain authority. And then page authority. Okay, we need to be somewhere in the range of 0 page authority, clear up to one of those sites has a 41. Okay, so the idea of using this at the least is to say, okay, if I want to rank my site, my page for Pearl Bracelet, I've obviously got some work to do because last time we checked, if I type in my bracelet page right here into OpenSiteExplorer, you remember what my authority looked like? It was pretty pathetic, right? Pathetic in comparison to these guys. Let's take a look at what it was, just to remind you guys. A 5 and a 1, right? A 5 and a 1. So what's my chances right now of pulling onto the first page of Google knowing that I have a 5 and a 1, a 5 domain authority and a 1 page authority? Am I gonna rank here? No way. It doesn't matter how well I optimize this page. I'm probably not going to burst onto the first page of Google. I'm too low. So the point is, I've got to build this. I need to get my site to at least a 25, and I need to really get this page to, I think these are kind of anomalies. You'll notice that number 6 here, Macy's, Macy's has an 87 because they're Macy's.com and they're a powerful domain, but you'll notice this specific page of Macy's has a 0 page authority. Why is that, guys? Why do you think that is? Why do you think number 6 here, Macy's.com? I'll open up this link so you guys can look at it. This is number 6. This page here has a high domain authority, but a 0 page authority. So what would it mean if it has a 0 page authority? They don't have links, probably. Some of you guys pointed that out. Because going back to our analysis here, isn't that what this is all about? These metrics are built on links for the most part. So if Macy's.com here has this page and it has a 0 page authority, nobody's probably linking to this specific page. So they don't have any authority. The domain itself it's highly trusted and probably has a lot of links going to other pages, but nothing to this page specifically, and so their authority is down. But why do they still pull a high ranking? Well, it's because their domain is so trusted. So what's cool about that is, how does a small business compete? Well, if I could get my little Uptown Pearl site, to a 25 domain authority, but I could really build links into my individual bracelets page. If I spent a lot of time really building links into this page and I could push up my page authority, I think my higher page authority could compensate for my lower domain authority and help me pull up to the top. Does that make sense? Like, I can actually control that. That's why you see some sort of random small business sites rank on the top page of Google and sometimes outrank the big name sites because they have high page authority. Okay, are you guys following me on that at all? I know this is, a lot of what we've been talking about has been building up to this conversation. I want you guys to understand a little more of the intuition behind some of this stuff that we've been learning about. And if you're confused out of your mind right now, seriously, it's okay. We may have to talk about this, for several weeks, because I want you guys to understand it. We talked about here just a second ago that this pearl bracelet example we're doing, it's a 37%. Well, this 37% is scored based on these metrics right here. So let's look at something different real quick. Let's look at something just a little bit different. Let's look at something more competitive. So let me come back out to my keyword tool. That's a 37%. Well, let's look at just like pearls in general, because I'll bet this is a really, really highly sought after, really popular keyword phrase. It's only 48%. Let's try something better. Let's see, buy pearls. Maybe that's going to be higher. I want to kind of show you the polar opposite here. Come on. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the pearl industry. I guess I could look up other keywords too. 46%. Yeah, that's not very good. How about pearl jewelry? Pearl jewelry is 49. Okay, let's maybe look at that. So we were looking at pearl bracelet initially that had a 37. Pearl jewelry has a 39. Now, before we look at the report real quick, it has a 49% difficulty. What does that mean based on what we've been talking about? If its percentage is higher, what does that mean? How do they sort of come up with this metric of 49%? Okay, it's harder to rank for, right? The higher the percentage, the higher it is to rank for. But why is it higher to? Why is pearl jewelry higher? Because they're analyzing the top 10 in Google, right? Like if I click on pearl jewelry, they're analyzing the top 10, and the top 10 of pearl jewelry are going to be tougher. This is for pearl jewelry. Here's the metrics here. Here's the graph. What do you guys notice about pearl jewelry as it differs from the other graph? Because this is a 49% versus the other graph was like a 38%. This is remember, this is analyzing the top 10 results in Google for pearl jewelry. I would argue the thing that I'm seeing most is that the page authorities are higher, aren't they? Yeah, they've got higher page authorities. These are comparable. These numbers over here, you know, there's still some pretty high domain authorities, but the page authorities are higher. As a result, it's just going to be harder for you to rank. Now, let me use an extreme example here. Let me go out and let me use, how about the word iPhone? How hard do you think that is to rank for in Google? I'll bet it's almost impossible, don't you think? Okay, check that out, an 85%. Okay, let's look at the report on that. If our, you know, what we've been talking about is true, does that make sense, guys? Okay, why is this up here? Why is it a difficulty score of 85%? Well, look at the sites you're competing against. Who's this number one, do you think? They've got a 100 page authority. It's apple.com, right? And a 95 page authority. There's no way anybody's going to outdo those guys, right? Number two, Wikipedia, right? Go down here, CNET, and then you've got Sprint.com, the New York Times, okay? Like, these are all huge sites. So does that make sense? So when we're looking at the percentages of your keyword phrases, do you see why now that we told you guys originally that we don't want you to try to rank for keyword phrases that are higher than 50%? Right? Wasn't that our advice? Let's shoot for stuff being that we're a brand new site, and naturally we're going to have lower domain authority and page authority. Do you get that? Because I hope that's starting to make sense. That's the reason why we don't want you to shoot for keyword phrases that have high percentages, because there's no way you're going to rank for them. Because the only way you're going to be able to rank for keywords like that is if you've done just a tremendous amount of link building. Because ultimately, in my opinion, based off what I've learned here using Moz over the years, your link building is what establishes both your domain authority and your page authority throughout your site. Right? So as you guys have done some keyword research for your site, take a step back and really look at your keywords again, and let's make sure that you're not shooting for highly competitive terms. Right? Like, I've had a few clients over the years. I remember one in particular, and it's nobody here, by the way, and this was years ago, but they wanted to rank number one in Google for pet products, right? And they were bound and determined to do that, and we said, well, you know, it's going to be tough, right? Pet products is right here, a 68%, and if we view the report on it, it'll become clear that in order to rank for pet products, you have to have a reasonably high domain authority and a pretty high page authority. And we never were able to rank for it just because we could never do enough link building to get to those percentages. So your guys' strategy right now is especially you guys who are kind of in the startup phase with your website, make sure that you're attacking keyword phrases that have low percentages to start. And that doesn't mean it always has to be like that, but to start, let's attack the low percentage ones for the reasons we've talked about tonight. And then, as you guys, 2 or 3 years from now, if you want to attack a keyword phrase that has a 60% competition based on some of our analytics here in Moz, we might be able to do that. Because if you've done link building over the years and you've slowly brought in more and more links into your site, and your authorities are growing, well then guess what? Google trusts you enough to where maybe you could attack some of those more competitive keyword phrases. Okay, guys, does that kind of make sense? That's the point of these metrics. So I'm not suggesting that you guys should go in and do really detailed analysis on every page right now and look at these numbers, although you can. I kind of wanted to show you this tonight so that, if there's a keyword phrase that's really important to you that you'd like to get a page of your site to rank for, that you know how to really study the numbers and you'll have an idea of how to really rank. As far as the answer to the question earlier that we posed, how many links is it going to take? Well, to your point, Laura, however many it takes. And so you can measure your authority as time goes by using this Moz tool. And if you've been doing a lot of link building into one page, over time, you should see your authority for that page to climb up, and you'll better be able to compete with some of the competing sites on Google. Okay? You guys pretty clear on that? Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the recording for just a sec because we're just about over time, and then I'm gonna take a few questions from you guys that are here live. For those of you guys who are watching the recording, thanks for coming. Hopefully this at least helped you understand a little bit more about how to use Moz and some of the tools there, how you can improve your SEO, and why, I guess, how links kind of influence those who are on the first page of keyword terms that you're trying to compete for. Okay? So I'll turn off the recording. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys next time.